No routine, no result. No goal, no compass. No life, no art. Have you ever done a project that took more than a day to complete? Something more than just a drawing and is quite hard to do. Not only that, it has a deadline, and you also have to add that project as part of your life every day for at least a month. It's like chipping away at a stone to break free from a prison cell or digging a deep hole in the ground to find the treasure buried in it. Especially for big projects, you have to keep it daily. And as much as we want to overwork ourselves, we only have 24 hours, and our body needs to rest too every day. We can be overconfident and say we can finish a month-long project in less than a week by just giving up our sleep for the duration. But even if you can do that, you'll find that your mind would be out of whack. You won't be able to think straight and you'd be sluggish that you'll make more mistakes. So it's best to actually take your time in doing a project and making time for yourself as well. No routine, no result. You really can't do a project in one single blow or overnight, especially if it's that big of a project. The only sure way to finish with flying colors is to have a routine. A routine is something you do every day. You already do it even if you don't know you're doing it. You wake up, look at the clock, go to the bathroom to freshen up, check your phone, grab a bite to eat, take a bath, go to work, go to lunch, go back to work, go home, take a bath, have dinner with the family, spend some time watching TV, maybe have sex or jerk off, and then go to bed. We all do it, the routine, not jerking off every day, except for us guys. We do it exactly like this or maybe in another order. The point is we all have our routine. Some may go out of one's daily routine if they have a job that requires them to go to different locations, or for us to do different things, but it's always the same from how you begin and how you end your day. In art, however, there's more importance to it than most people, even artists, know. The daily routine can make or break an artist's career, mainly because artists tend to lean more on the "am I feeling it today" kind of schedule. What do I mean by that? Well, artists, or to be more specific, starting artists or amateur artists, tend to gauge their schedule by checking their inspiration levels before they paint. Sometimes there will come a week that you don't even get that itch to touch that canvas on your easel with your brush, maybe even longer, just because you didn't feel like it. And most people will say, I got busy, life got in the way, or I don't feel inspired to paint, and those are only a few excuses that I can think of at the top of my head. However, what these amateur artists don't know is that the only reason they don't have time to finish their work is that they don't make time for their work. They don't find the time in their average day-to-day to look for the time or to sacrifice the time, like lessening their time on the phone or watching YouTube videos or putting the game controller down and just start working on their art. Even if you find an hour every day to focus on your work can do miracles, and that's why I said if you don't have a routine, you won't get results. Sure, you could say, but I can make results. I did this drawing 5 minutes ago, and I didn't have to have a routine. Okay, you did finish a so-so artwork today, but that's just a small piece. That won't make a career. That's a doodle. Anyone can make a doodle. Even my dog can make a doodle with a poodle. What we're talking about here is a big art project, and if you can do a drawing or take an hour to focus, you can finish that big project, and in a month or so, you will see the results when you do a daily routine. You can, however, take the whole week off and focus entirely on the painting or project, and you might finish the piece with flying colors, but when you get back to work you can't take another week off. Why not just put it in your daily routine? Or you might experience burnout if you haphazardly let the whole project consume your whole day every day. You have to also do other things every day to balance your daily life. To be able to spend your art energies evenly so that you won't run out, but that even is a little bit unproven and maybe untrue. You can still make tons and tons of artwork daily. You'll never run out of art powers. In fact, you'll only grow better. Just rest, take a break, sleep, and once fully charged, go at it again. You can watch TV, but see to it that you always put in your time painting. Allow me to share with you guys my daily routine as of today, and I said as of today because right now, this is what works for me, and I might change it in the future or next week, depending on what projects I'm doing, or if I see something that doesn't fit the schedule. Wake up, 6 a.m. Dream journal. Pray, meditate. Write a book chapter, essay, or poem. Check email. Clean studio and do chores. Stretching workout. Go outside for a walk. Breakfast. Ready video playlist for the day. Take a bath. Paint or write. Post art on social media. 12 p.m. lunchtime. Lunch break. Back to painting while watching videos. Play with my son or chat with my wife. Break time. Back to painting or writing. Dinner, 7 p.m. Back to painting or writing. Shut down the PC and clean the drawing table. Sleep, 3 a.m. if at all, depending on the deadline. This is my routine and you can make your own too. That's the beauty of it. Occasionally the time changes. It really depends on when I woke up or slept. Every so often, I get to sleep after lunchtime, posting art before I rest, and this happens when I did an all-nighter, or a whole day just making art or writing, or both. But I see to it, the daily to-dos, especially posting art, is done even if I did burn the midnight oil. So when that happens, naturally, the time when I woke shifts, so I have to adjust the schedule. But even if the time is different, I will still do the routine, adjusting a few things and exchanging the chronology. I do this until I finally get to wake up at 6 a.m. again, and the routine is back on its proper time schedule, which only happens at least 3 times a week, due to me having to go on all-nighters most of the time. But having a list of things to do as a daily routine always snaps me back to my responsibilities, and hard sets my discipline in creating. On the list itself, if you noticed, I also make my own video playlist. What I do is, if there are a lot of videos I want to watch, I download them from YouTube using a video downloader, so that I won't have to experience lag time and ads. Plus, I get to keep the video in my library for research purposes, so I can watch it again whenever I need to review it. I watch the videos I compile while I paint. My attention, of course, is on the painting most of the time. Most of the videos are people talking, so I can just listen to the video as I draw, but the purpose of this is I don't get bored painting. I paint at a minimum of 12 hours a day, so that I really get stuff done. And if you do it that long, you can't last the day if you don't have something to think about or listen to while you paint. After all, painting requires focus, and doing something over and over kind of gets tiring and boring, so you have to make it fun, or at least watch something while you paint. You kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Another tip is, you can also listen to music or listen to audiobooks. When I do this, it means I really need to focus on what I'm doing, meaning my eyes can't really wander around for me to do my work. This goes for penciling tightly and inking the details that I can't afford to get wrong. When I'm in painting mode, I can relax my focus a little bit because I'm just playing at this point, and also, I don't want to rush what I'm doing. The videos set up a pace for me to just take my time in painting the pieces. But it doesn't mean you can't listen to an audiobook or podcast to have fun while you paint. You can certainly do so. I also download videos per topic. If I have a client or I have an idea, I'll download a lot of videos from YouTube talking about the topic I want to know more about. I make them their own playlist per topic, and this is like doing a crash course while I paint. I can also watch movies and TV shows, especially if the thing I'm painting is work stuff that I'm finding hard to start. What I do is I put in a good movie, to trick and reward my mind with a great film I want to watch even if I've seen it before. Doing this forces me to sit down and paint those deadlines away with more joy in my heart. I'm watching Firefly for the nth time later today. Most amateur artists think that if they're only inspired, then that's the only time they should paint, but a lot of creative writers and artists wield their masterpieces because they force themselves to work and finish their artworks in novels and films. You wouldn't hear about it if it wasn't finished, and there might be some exceptions to that, like The Thief and the Cobbler by Richard Williams, but that's another beast entirely. Although what I'm getting at is, you have to put in the time to make your artwork. And art is work really, and if you don't put in the time you don't get paid. Just imagine it as that, only you're the boss and you're the one calling the shots. Just remember that even if you're the boss, you're still bound by time in this realm, because we all have 24 hours in a day. Take your vacation after you've finished your work. The masterpiece you're looking for will only exist in a routine. It won't be done overnight. It won't just magically appear in one stroke of genius one afternoon you decided to get so high. Don't delude yourself as being a virtuoso. Just paint every day, and that will be good enough. You might not believe that's all that it takes, but it really is, and you can only see the results when you make your art, and you do it every day with your daily routine. It's really hard to start, but I find that as long as you sit down to write, as Steven Pressfield suggests in his book The War of Art, saying, it's not the writing that's hard, it's the sitting down to write. So as long as you can trick yourself to sit down and start, the rest will be easy. You don't need to be inspired or need someone to cheer you on, you just gotta sit down and start. And you'll notice after doing that you can't stop painting or writing because you're writing the creative flow now. You're not afraid of the sea anymore. You're on a boat reversing unexplored waters. And that's what it's really all about, discovering what you'll find there, and that will surely yield results. No goal, no compass. The second thing we need to have as artists in exploring the big blue seas of the oceans of creativity is we need a goal to get to. And that, if we don't have a goal, we won't get there. We'll just wander adrift and maybe die adrift. Lost at sea with no ambition or determined destination. What's the use of a compass if you don't know where to go? So where's your goal? Do you have one at all? It's this amateur mistake of a starving artist that hinders growth, because most of these artists want to be an artist, a famous artist mind you, but famous for what? Slacking off. Getting blindly drunk every day while doing next to nothing work. Instead of revealing all the flaws of the amateur artist, let me share with you my current goals at this moment. Well, let's go to the most tangible one for you, this book. The book you're holding right now is or now was part of my goal. If you're reading this now, it's because I was able to attain my goal of finishing this book. Congress to me and yahi. Now that you know my goal, what do I mean by no compass? Easy. If I didn't have a goal, I wouldn't know what to do or what not to do. I'd be picking my nose and scratching my head, flipping through YouTubers looking for something to watch, reading comments, or letting the Facebook news feed suck my soul. But since I have a goal, I have a mission. I have an objective to breathe the air. When I eat, I won't feel guilty that another day has passed that I didn't contribute anything to the world. When I sleep, I knew I was able to finish a page or two of the book. The compass toward my goal keeps me focused on what to do next. I'll spend my time on the PC writing instead of just looking at porn. I'll finish up my artwork in record time, so that I know I have more time to write. I'll schedule in the calendar the day I want to publish and announce the availability of this book and schedule around that other project deadlines. My goal is my compass. It tells me what I should be researching more as this book is on my mind. Every time I hear something in the videos I watch, I be sure to take note of that to add to my book as a source or quote. In fact, the videos I'm most interested now in watching or audiobooks I'm most attentive now in listening are the ones in the topics I also want to tackle. Not because I want to copy what they say or rip them off, it's only to have a better way of telling the stories I wanted to tell here, and if the lessons they teach are also what I'm sharing here, I can cite them as another source that also claims the same thing, adding validity to the saying I share, as well as seeing if they haven't seen it the way I do. And then if that's the case, I know that I really have to share this something new. All in all, you really have to know what your goals are. I already have a list of my goals for this year in my handy-dandy notebook. Therefore, when I'm in a long line waiting, I can peek at the back of my notebook and remind myself saying, ah yes, I need to do this. And it gives me a clear path on what to do next, compared to following my wandering thoughts. Looking at my list also gives me excitement of the things I can accomplish finally this year, because some of them are the ones that I wasn't able to finish last year. Case in point, this book. I'm writing this book, this part of it anyway, in February, and it's part of a self-challenge I imposed on myself at the start of this 2022 year. I challenged myself to be able to self-publish one art book, comic, poetry book every month of 2022. So far I finished one and this is supposed to be the second one, but I'm enjoying writing it too much, meaning the book is getting more pages than I initially intended, so much so that I might move its launch by March as my third book. Luckily, I already have another book that's already 98% done, and only needs a page or two to be fixed, and I can just print it and have a book for February. Side note, I wrote this chapter in May 2022, and I'm editing it now in May of 2023. Obviously, I wasn't able to finish writing this one for last year. I just had too much fun writing that it wasn't right to force me to finish it then. As for my one self-published book a month last year, well, I was able to still fulfill and successfully do it. I was able to finish 12 independently published books, ZENs, photo books, art books, poetry books, you name it I did it, except for comics, because that takes a real amount of time to do alone monthly, with my kind of workload anyway, but this year there shall be comics. Because I also re-challenged myself this year by self-publishing one book a month in 2023. Though, there were some setbacks because it's May and I still haven't published a book, and this book, ZEN, will be the first. I'm 5 books late, but the reason for that is that I also added a new challenge this year on top of this one, which is the 100 artworks in 2023. It's a challenge that I'm doing aside from art shows, commissions, and other paintings I'm supposed to be doing. And that sounds crazy considering the amount of work I already have on my plate, but I'm having so much fun. I'm doing the challenge with my wife and other artists too who want to improve their art and discipline in creating paintings. And that was our goal, which is to have the discipline of regularly painting and putting out artwork. So far I finished 34 out of the 100. It's hard, but I can't even begin to tell you how much I've been improving in terms of discipline, creativity, experimentation, and tackling new ways to make art. I can't wait to show all of you our finished results. Now we can all set up challenges like this. I do have a lot of books almost done, and are ready to be self-published like this book. Some are nowhere near completion. It's in a notebook or folder with all the information and text I've written on the topic. But like this book, which is only an idea with a few collected quotes from my notes, I wrote this from scratch. And you might say, wow, it only took you a month or so to write the stuff here. However, that's not entirely true. Everything is in my head for many years now. These are my life's lessons, and I have them in my mind, heart, and soul, so I've been writing this book, in a way, for almost all my life. That goes as well for the other books I'm planning to write. I've been dreaming, imagining, and thinking about their stories, their contents, their pages, and even cover art and typography for years and years. It's seldom that I do a book out of the blue. It has to have some core I've been ruminating for a time now for it to really bloom. You cultivate that idea, you take care of it, and when the right time comes you will see it flower, and after that, you might even taste its fruits. You might also think, so what if you made a self-challenge that you publish a book every month? You can always skip a month, nobody will know. Oh, people will know, because I announced this on my social media accounts, not because I'm crazy, but just because I'm determined to finish these books. Who knows if I can do it, and who knows how long I'll be on this earth. My biggest fear is to not share all this wisdom and knowledge I've learned through the years. Or not be able to share the art that I've already done before with people who want to see or collect them. Announcing it gives me the pressure of staying true to my words, and even if people don't really care or even if they forgive me for going over a month to publish a book, I for one, really want to fulfill the challenge, and this makes me work more diligently, creating new routines, new compasses for me to finish these books. The pressure allows me to bite the bullet, shoot the shot, and even force myself to be more creative to finally take the leap and hopefully land safely on my 2 feet, and so far it's working. And you know what? I feel more fulfilled than ever. The added pressure of humiliating oneself in front of all the people you know is something I wouldn't want to happen, and it doesn't have to happen. I just really need to publish these books. And that's not to say that I don't have artworks to paint as I write or people to talk to for projects, and also the unforeseen forces like getting sick and clients getting angry at me for submitting an artwork late. To be honest, I added this challenge not because I have the time, but because I really don't, and this will just prove to me that as long as I can manage my time, I can finish a lot more, only if I have routines and goals set. And maybe, announcing it to the world, either failing or succeeding with them, will inspire people when they see it's possible, or even if I fail, they will see that trying something is still worth it, rather than doing nothing at all because we're afraid to fail or succeed. No life, no art. Other artists might say, no art, no life instead, but that's not true. How can you make art if you don't live your life? That's where your story and your opinions and message comes from the life you live. And that's what you make art out of. If you only live for art, then you must not need air, food, or someone to make love to. You can, however, say, what is there to live for without art? And that's hyperbole or poetry, an exaggeration. And I said that in an interview before when being asked if it was still worth it to make art in this time that there's a pandemic, and I said yes. And here's what I said. What makes being an artist worth it, especially during these times? I think it's still worth being an artist during these challenging times. I have to be honest, I was really afraid when I got the first symptoms of COVID, me lying in bed with a high fever. In my mind, I thought to myself, this was it. Death has finally come for me this final time. And death has come for me a few times in my life. I got dengue fever at least 3 to 4 times when I was younger, dreading and surviving each time. I also drowned twice and got hit by a car when I was just a kid. And in college, I was stabbed in the back with a butterfly knife puncturing my left lung, due to a mugging by 3 or 4 men in Blumentritt. I say 3 or 4 men because it was pitch black at that time. After all, there was a blackout due to a storm, and the street was also closed because there was a wake going on, and I know, the signs were there not to walk alone on that street, but it was the street I always walked going home when I was in college. I fended the muggers off because when I punched, fought, and shouted at them, they were more shocked than me. Because based on their body language, they were surprised, because they thought I was a girl. See, I had long hair when I was in college, longer than most girls. And that dark street, my silhouette made me look like I was easy prey. But before they ran off, I was hit with a single stab wound in the lung. I almost suffocated to death due to my own blood drowning me. I even saw the light and a glimpse of God in heaven, if you can believe it. Long story short, I survived that, and after almost 15 years, here I was shivering in bed worrying if my left lung was strong enough to survive this virus. I was lucky enough that I did survive. That chain smoking for 10 years didn't decrease my chances of surviving. I haven't smoked a cigarette for at least 2 years now, and I have to say I'm happy and lucky enough that my air packs still held on, even if I hadn't been the best guy to keep them strong, healthy, and intact. But I'm telling you this now because, when my quarantine and self-isolation ended and was back to normal health as I can be, I needed to go out of the house to do some art errands, and that thought of going out of the house again, with the possibility that I could catch the deadly virus again, that fear was fucking real. I even said to myself, I could just hop in a grab car and go to the places I have to go and minimize contact with other people in my commute. Sure, I can do that, but I don't think I should live in fear for the rest of my life. It was the same kind of fear I felt after I got stabbed in the back and lung. I dreaded commuting from us to Blumentritt for at least a week. Even my parents were scared at the time, and so my dad fetched me for a week from school to home. When I was finally on my own again, commuting, I avoided the street where I got stabbed, even though it was the shortest route. But soon, I realized, I shouldn't be afraid to walk that street. I did nothing wrong, and I love passing that street. And so with all my courage, I walked that street again after 2 to 3 weeks of getting stabbed, and to my surprise, nothing happened. And pretty soon it was back to normal. I guess the muggers didn't see my face clearly to remember me due to it being dark, but they still might know that it was me due to my long hair at the time. But at least they knew now not to fuck with me because I fight back. I also, of course, avoided going on dark streets with no one else in sight, so my advice is to avoid those too because that's where muggers lie in wait for prey. Learn from my mistakes. Anyway, I told that story because I felt the same fear of going out again a few days ago. But man, I love going out of the house from time to time. I get a lot of art errands done, and I'm able to take a lot of photos for reference as subjects for my Manila Ukiyo-E artworks. Not to mention, the day I had to go out, there was a storm. It was raining, but it was tolerable. But a lot of factors weren't in my favor. But in the end, I geared up, put on a jacket and a bonnet, doubled my face mask, and double-checked my alcohol spray if I had brought it. I opened my black umbrella and went out. I can't say I wasn't afraid, but with caution and social distancing, and enough maneuvering, you can still survive out there. I sound like a safety protocol guy right now, I know, but hey, everybody's just doing what they can with what they know, and we'd be fools not to follow the best advice we can get to prevent getting and spreading COVID. I walked to Blumentritt, rode a jeep, and I went to Recto, then walked from there to Ust, and then rode a jeep to SM San Lazaro, and walked from there all the way home. All the while thinking to myself, I shouldn't even be here, but at the same time, thinking as well, I must do this. Because are we going to always succumb to fear? Or can we be brave enough to make things happen despite the odds, despite our very real fears? I decided the hell with it and just did my best because that's all we're able to do. Do our best and try to avoid this invisible enemy of us, and that goes both for the virus and the fear. We should still make art, even though it's hard for some of us right now. It's like giving the finger to the virus if you ask me. Are art materials hard to come by now because you can't go to your art supply store? Why not order it online? Or better yet, use those unopened paint cans, oil pastels, sketchpads, magic pencils you have lying around, and make a new art style with what you have. I've been shit-ass broke before and only had a ball pen and an art book and a lot of free time, and with that, I was able to discover my art style, book vandalism. We're all creative as artists, and we really can't give up because the whole world decides to have a sick day for 2 years now. We have to keep making art, because we should at least have something to show people that we can go back to normal. That there are people and artists out there that's keeping at it and not being brought down by all the negative news we get in our news feeds. It's worth being an artist during this time because we can show the world that we're still here, able to make art for them to live for, that we can still create beauty, evoke emotion, and have a message to say even in these trying times, whether it's painting, photography, or poetry. Because frankly, without art, what's there to live for? Having said that, I do firmly believe that art only comes second after life. The younger me actually answered, when I was asked to choose between art or love, and I chose love because I said there wouldn't be art if there was no love. A beautiful answer, I know, it wasn't scripted, and it was all true. But had I known that the girlfriend I was thinking of at that time would break my heart, chop it into a million pieces, stomp on it, and then leave me in the middle of the night in the middle of nowhere as she drove away, I might answer art instead. Kidding aside, I would still answer love, or just say life over art. And that's because I have a loving wife now and a son who is just plain adorable, and they both inspire me to make more art. It's for them that I make art, it's for me too, it's for my family and friends, and it's for God as well. He's actually the first, God, life, and art. And I say this to you now because if you don't have God in your life, you really can't make art. I mean, God made you to be here, and the life that you live, that's where you get your stuff. You don't just make artwork from nowhere, it reflects your story. Just look at Basquiat's artworks or Vincent van Gogh's landscapes and portraits, all of them reflect what they see, it's the life they lived. If Van Gogh lived in the Philippines, he would paint banana Q and I saw in Impressionism. If Basquiat were to have lived here, he would have been treated just like any other Pinoy, I guess, but he might have painted different things. The point is, what you paint is reflective of what you do or have in real life. It's not the other way around. What you paint affects your real life. Well, that can happen if you painted masterpieces, but that still has to come from real life. The Manila Ukiyo-E artworks I make are the scenes I see every day when I take my walks in the streets of Manila. I may not be as poor as some of my subjects, but in my eyes, I see something about them that I want to share. You might even see artists who are struggling with what to paint, or they can't even think of an original idea to talk about in their works, and it's because they don't live their lives. Maybe they're too focused on work or the paycheck that their job offers them that they barely go out there to talk to girls anymore, or risk something like making their own art and getting rejected. Or their family is too well off that they don't pay rent or think about paying for another meal in their life, that they lack the challenge of what it's like to live. It's what Steve Jobs said, stay hungry, stay foolish. It meant that he might have been a successful innovator worth billions, but he still wanted to stay grounded by not being swayed by the luxury of living. You tend to forget things when you're being pampered and too secure in life. When you can buy anything you want and don't have to worry about food anymore, you forget that you're human. And you forget how to live life. You are disconnected from the reality of the world, and you just become a pig being fattened for the slaughter. Therefore, you forget to create or you don't know what to create, and you're afraid of rejection. And even if you were rejected, it won't change you for the better because you don't want to be better. You already have something to eat for dinner every night. You won't challenge yourself or take risks, and it's in these decisions and dilemmas do we really find out who we are. Stay hungry, stay foolish. Even if you get rich, challenge yourself and make fun of yourself. Or just have fun. Don't just play games all day or watch TV. Play the game of life, and fight the challenges of your uncreativity, instead of just consuming what others have created. You really can't make art if you don't have life. Anyone who lives a life for their art is living a terrible life or a phony life. Everything I've shared here came from all that I've encountered in my real life. They are precious experiences to me, and they are really some of the life lessons I truly treasure. This is my life, and my experiences are what I make art from. That's why they're colorful and unique and interesting. Imagine if the majority of my life I only played video games or was into some dumb addiction. Imagine what topics I might be sharing with people on my canvas. That'll be pretty dull, and people might have already painted them too. It'll be the same life, and that's not how art should be. Because if we're just experiencing life on the screen, that's not life, that's not art. Find ZEN living your life, find art in the life you live.